Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steff Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
Welcome back to the Changemakers Collective. I am Scott. That is Steff. And we are so incredibly grateful. I'll just take a moment to say thank you for all of you guys that are hanging out with us and learning some things. We hope it's been something that you find not only informative, but to some degree entertaining, because that's just kind of how we are. So today we've got some interesting stuff to talk about. One of the things I find when I'm talking to people that are transitioning from job to job is that most people don't leave a job for more money. They will use as an excuse, but it is more likely because there's misalignment around leadership and their execution from leadership to the staff. There's a lot that goes into, and we get to do a lot of leadership development work. And very often the folks that find themselves in leadership are often not leaders. They've often been kind of promoted through the ranks, much to their financial gain, but very often much to their tension from like, hey, I'd much rather be out in the field doing a thing than being responsible for 20 people within my office.
You know, Scott, a lot of times the conversation when we, so people bring us in because they've promoted someone that's not performing the way that they want to. And
that was a much better way of saying that, by the way. Like I used like 1,400 words and you did it
call
in
that
3.
word salad. So when you're going through a discovery phase, first you find out that the person already voiced that they didn't want to be promoted.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the raise was lucrative to them. The second thing was they just weren't onboarded as a leader correctly. And so now there's a challenge and a disconnect and a breaking of trust between the leader and the C-suite team that promoted them. And
yeah,
so
that's very well said. That's very well said. So that navigating the change of leadership, we often get involved in the high side. How do we make sure that there is alignment amongst the leadership team? But it's equally impactful, if not even more so, for those who are mid-level managers and below, because now they don't know what to expect, especially if it's been a peer of theirs that has now been elevated to a boss. I just had a gig about a year or so ago with a huge company here in town that a woman was promoted who had been a line leader, for lack of a better term, for 14 years. And all of her peers had kind of come up with her. So they've all been working arm in arm, talking about the man and how all of them keeping the man keeping us down for 14 years. And all of a sudden she's promoted to the man. And she was like, how do I take people that I used to go to lunch with and complain and kind of strategize about how to execute, and now I'm their boss? How does that work? So navigating that changes. It absolutely can. It absolutely can. And I think that's what we want to talk about today is like, how do you manage that both from the top down and from the bottom up?
The leadership challenge. If people are going through a strategic plan where they know they're going to scale their business or they're going to promote from within, so, you know, for whatever reason, then the leadership challenge is a great way that we can facilitate where people are learning to share the vision, model the way. Yeah, well, inspire a shared vision, model the way, enable others to act, teach people how to challenge the process, and then you learn to encourage people. Um, but even before you get there, having a roadmap or a strategic plan that's communicated on both sides, saying, okay, as a leader, here's some areas that I may need some help in. And from the leadership down, these are the things that we expect from you. And here's some conversations of
Oh man,
what you need to do.
that's so good. That's so good and so missed. Like when we talk with organizations that are in the middle of change, very often it's because of some catalytic event, and very often it's not great. There's been some
Or somebody could
bad
have
thing
just
that's happened.
retired.
Yeah, some bad thing that's happened, or somebody retired if it's a good thing,
Right,
and they're trying to pivot as quickly as possible.
right.
What
With
often
what they
gets
have.
yeah, what often gets missed is that conversation you just talked about. How do we make sure there is clear direction and expectation from the new leader? Because the new leader is going to want to come in and say, well, as we've said a number of times, you bring you with you. You bring your
Everywhere
experience
you
as a
go.
leader with you. And you and I, while partners, are going to lead two different ways
Mhm.
because that's just who we are. So coming into becoming a new leader, the very first thing you should do, other than getting to know your people, is to really lay out the groundworks of how you like to work and how you like to interact and how you like to get feedback and how you like to give feedback. Because, man, there can be all kinds of angst and anxiety
Well,
specifically
okay.
related to that.
You hear the buzz phrase psychological safety,
Mm.
and it's used so often now that people don't pay attention, but that's a real thing. You get promoted and you have to prove yourself.
Mhm.
Psychologically, you think, I have to prove myself.
Yep.
Okay. You've went from asking for permission to being accountable
Mhm.
for the stuff.
Yep.
And then the scary part about it is, like you said, if you were promoted from within up and your peers are now the people that you are, well, you have to navigate in a very different way.
That transition is super hard.
Yeah.
Super hard.
Psychological safety is a real
The
thing.
conversations that we had when I was in that role as kind of I don't know what do you even call that role, but somebody that was like a change agent,
Mhm,
essentially. One of the things that we did right away was get the whole team together,
mhm.
make sure that everybody understood what the new roles and responsibilities were, how you were going to allocate it. It wasn't like this person was promoted and then all the work that she was doing just got dumped on the other
Right.
four. We had to figure out how to allocate it, and then we had individual meetings with every single person on the team and say, "Hey, this is going to be unique because we used to be at the same level and now I have to tell you what to do. And if you step out of line, I'm going to have to hold you accountable." So how do we ensure that we have a common language for which to have those tougher conversations? Because you've been with somebody a long time. You have to be able to understand, one, how to get the best out of them, but two, how to have the hard conversations and not fracture that personal relationship you've built.
So for those that are watching that are getting ready to promote someone or they're just in a leadership role
Mhm.
that they're struggling. Here is a couple of areas that we've really seen go sideways. First, the person is trying to navigate, it's not my position anymore. And
Mhm.
so, how do I change? How do I become a change agent? How do I understand the vision? How do I then communicate that in a different way? But at the same
Because
time,
that's important though, right?
right.
That's what you just said is super important. So I don't wanna glance over that because how do you communicate the vision in a different way is super important. Before, you were an executor
Mhm.
and now you become a mouthpiece of the vision. And if you can't this is this is why visioneering is so important. If you can't articulate it from your execution standpoint, how in the world are you going to be able to articulate it to the staff that you're trying to encourage and empower and educate to be able to execute on the vision from a corporate level?
So here's my experience, what I see happen. So you promoted someone, and there's differences, right? It's a different leadership style. Everything is different. Okay. Then there wasn't a clear path for them
Mm,
to offload their day-to-day stuff and become the leader. So you technically are a manager that has a leadership title,
hmm
and then you take on more and more work because the work has to get done.
Correct.
Now,
You're around in 2 or 3 roles now.
absolutely. So, I mean, clearly you need managers, you need leaders.
Yep,
Some managers are leaders and you can switch those hats. But if you don't give a employee a clear path to do that, they will never successfully be able to do it.
I agree with you. So let's talk about specifics,
Okay.
right? So we're in the middle of an organizational leadership change, whether it's a internal promotion or an external hire, or the company is going like gangbusters and you just need some additional people.
Mhm.
First 100 days of that person being in the role, what should they be doing?
First, everybody should collectively sit down and have a roadmap because just like you said a while ago, my map and your map may not look the same.
Mhm.
The ultimate goal needs to be stated, but there should be a transparent conversation. I am comfortable with communicating with my team. I am uncomfortable with articulating the vision.
Mhm.
I am comfortable with, I am uncomfortable with, and
And who is that person having that conversation with?
their direct report,
Okay.
and I think we know that in the beginning you have to build a level of trust, and we know that you have to then let the people start doing the job, and then the people start doing the job, and that's when everybody grumbles because they think they could do it better than you. But
Yep.
there's all, and then you get to this fourth stage where um, you're in your leadership role, they are doing the work that they need to be doing, and then you move on. So if you and who you report to are not having a mapping conversation, in 30 days I would like to hit here, and not in 30 days do you revisit it, but you revisit it maybe
Mhm.
weekly. You get into a rhythm where eventually they can let you go. I mean, not go as in
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. I guess the other question would be, because we get to have these conversations all the time. What if it's you're bringing in a top level person? So there's nobody for them to have the conversation with around how do you want me to lead out with my staff? You're now the person at the top of the organization. Then what?
first of all, the leadership challenge facilitated by Scott, Stephanie, perfect way to do
Hmm.
that. But having conversations, I think, first of all, builds trust quickly with your team.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're saying, because I know in as an HR guru, this is something you just live and breathe and do all the time. I'm coming into it, say, okay, I've now been elected as the executive director of some organization or the CEO, whatever the case may be. You're saying, hey, the first thing I need to do is create an understanding of my own. I need to understand what the vision and mission and values of the organization has been already. I'm being brought in as the CEO because there's a need to either change direction or scale the business, or somebody's retired and we just need to do what we got to do. But I'm bringing myself to the organization and my leadership skills and my gifts, talents, and passions and faults. So I need to be able to internalize that vision so that I can reiterate it and re-engage the staff in order to get them to share the vision so we can actually execute in a positive way.
Yeah,
And all
I
that
would
has to
add
happen in a
very
very short
quickly.
period of
But
time.
you can do that, right? So the biggest suggestion that I make to brand new leaders is don't make a change that day.
Mm,
So as soon as someone walks in, if they
mm.
change everything that's existing, there's a cultural understanding and it will become
Yeah,
an
it's a
us them.
whiplash.
Absolutely. So building trust to get the team behind you if you are new to that is one of the number one things that someone could do, and you can do it quickly.
You can do it quickly. I agree. And I think that's one of the things that we do a really good job of kind of ensuring everyone is marching to the same drum. We have an exercise called the Prepping for Everest team intensive, I guess is the best way to describe it, where we come in and we make sure that everybody from the senior leader down to the line level people are all in alignment as to where the organization is going. And when we say where the organization is going, we are specifically talking about what does success look like? What problem are you trying to solve in the marketplace, whether that's a for profit or a nonprofit?
If everybody in the organization does not understand the vision, now a vision statement is not the same as the vision, right?
Should
It
be.
should
It
be,
should
but it's
be, but
often
it's
not
often not.
because people have these crazy vision statements when a one-liner can get them.
Oh, keep going. But I can't wait to tell you what I'm about to tell you. Go ahead, keep going.
If from the parking lot attendant who is hardly in the building
Mhm.
to the president of the organization, if they can't communicate what the vision is, that is like one of the biggest places to start because you can't unify if everybody's not understanding the vision.
Completely agree. And understanding is the key.
Mhm.
I had the privilege of doing a speaking engagement this past week where I asked the organization that brought me in because I had seen their vision statement and I knew none of the people in the room could articulate what it was. So I said, tell me the vision statement of this organization. And they all looked at me like I had 5 heads. I'm like, okay, what is the purpose of your organization? Oh my word. Everybody in unison starts this paragraph. And when I say paragraph, I mean, I had to stop them. They were going on and on and on and on. And it's this cacophony of voices all talking at the same time. It had to be 4 or 5 sentences long.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait, stop. To use your phrase, I said, this is the worst word salad I have ever heard. You told me what this purpose statement was because you had to memorize it as part of being a part of this organization. I said to the senior leader there, I said, what does that exactly mean?
Mm.
That's exactly the action. And I was like, you're the president. How do you mean? What do you mean you don't know? Yeah, we have to
Okay, but
memorize it, but
Scott,
I don't really understand what it means.
so that's a good exercise, right? Because
Yes,
here's
it
the
is.
thing. Here's what my experience. First of all, people have paid 30, 40, $60,000 to sit down with a consulting firm and they write this great vision statement. And everybody in the organization is like, well, that's our vision statement. But no one really understands
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah.
So a great exercise, if let's just say you're new. Hey team, we're going to look at the vision statement. I know we have one. Here's the vision statement. Let's do a quick exercise and say, everybody on a note card, say what the vision statement is.
Mhm.
Well, you have immediately said, I hear you. I appreciate where you're coming from. Like the worst thing you could say is, well, your vision statement sucks. But what you could say is, well,
Nice.
maybe we need to clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, that's why we do this intensive so you can get an understanding. And most organizations are going to say to us, well, I already have one of those.
Yes.
And we're already on the path. We're already 10 years in. We're already doing a thing. We're already scaling our business. We don't need a prepping for Everest because we're already on the mountain.
Okay. Scott and I had a client. They wrote their vision statement, I think, in 1992.
Yes.
And they stood by it. And there were so many
And
words.
good on them
Good, yeah,
for sticking
absolutely.
by it, number one,
But
because usually that doesn't happen either.
right, well, true, because everybody changes their vision statement 1,000 times. But this particular one, but when you ask anyone in the organization, especially those that were there during the 1992 invention of the vision statement, they had no idea what was going on.
No,
So
no.
why plant your flag? Okay, but we digress. Okay. A little passionate about the vision statement, get it together.
Well,
So the
I think
intensive, right?
we both are, right? I think we both are because you cannot have the impact your business is designed to have unless you know where you're going.
That's for profit or nonprofit.
Yeah. Oh no.
That
Yeah.
is
That's
big
personal
and
too.
small. Right.
If you don't have a personal vision statement of what you're trying, what success looks like for you, you're gonna try everything everywhere.
So Brian from Rock Hill Coffee was with us before. And he was talking about that you were ingenious and you gave him or you challenged him to read a book called Vision Map.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately sat here, I downloaded it and read it.
It's a very short book, but it's awesome.
65 pages. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
tiny.
awesome.
However, it's so chock full of nuggets. And when I got the book, I literally thought it was going to be like a vision statement type thing. But what I
Like a
realized,
creator kind of thing?
yeah,
Yeah, like a tutorial?
like, why is he so excited about this? But however, what I learned was no matter where you are in the organization,
Mhm.
if you create a map, so and just do something, just do one thing and get people behind you around that one thing. Again, you're building trust, you are painting the vision, and you are moving the organization
Mhm.
forward. Now, here's what also happens. What we are finding is you have a group of people that has, I'm not really big on separating the generations, right?
Mhm.
But there's a real thing here. So you have one group of people that have worked in their jobs for 10, 15, 20 years.
Mhm.
You have another group of people that's a little bit younger than them, but not the youngest people in the office. And they tend to do an 8-year job thing, and they have a set of ideas. They are
Mhm.
more technological.
Mhm.
Then you have the next group of people that print nothing. They've been at a job for 2 years. And you've got to learn how to bridge the gap from the 2 years
Yeah,
or
that's
2
good.
years to
That's
the
good.
20 years.
Yeah, that's good.
And there's a disconnect.
Mhm.
So, as a leader, or as someone that has recently promoted a leader, how do you bridge that gap? Because it's a gap.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you've got I think it's 2026 or 2025, maybe this year, actually, you'll have all of the baby boomer generation will have retired or been of
Mhm.
retirement age, and you have the next level down, as you said, they don't think about leadership the same way. They're not used to being in at one company for their entire career.
Or even coming to the office every day.
So the
The thing,
only grounding fact within the organization is your vision.
right?
Where are you going? Your values that keep you on the path and your mission objectives that get you to your goal. That's the only thing you can set your foot on as stable ground as you're transitioning or navigating this organizational leadership change. You've
Yeah.
got to understand where you're going as an organization and why you're going there.
And if you have clarity there, you can team easily and
Yeah.
quickly.
Again, maybe it's just us.
It's or about just you.
We are all about the easy button.
Right.
We are
Right.
all
Why make it
about
hard?
efficiency. If the only way to scale a business, and this may be because of our background, both of us have a background, at least half of our career is nonprofit based.
Mhm.
So the only way to get ahead is to do more with less.
Mhm.
The only way to do more with less is to create systems and processes that take place of exterior efforts from individuals.
I want you to go back to that. But while you're doing all of that, you have to leave space for people's emotions.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
So, back to psychological safety. Real people come to work.
Mhm.
You are Sally Joe, and you got promoted ahead of me, and we've worked the same job for 14 years. Well,
Oh, yeah. No,
even if
I had to
I am
navigate that with that
right,
group I was talking about before. There was a lot of, "Well, hold on. My credentials are better than your credentials.
right.
How did you get that job instead of me?" Again, and I don't mean to take some because I do believe you have to meet people where they are.
Mhm.
That's the only way to truly lead. You lead individuals. If you're a leader, you have to come to work with humility and looking for collaborative moments. If you don't do that, don't be a leader. You're just going to cause damage to the organization. However, you have to have some place to start. That some place taking all of the individual personalities out of it, that some place has to be the vision statement for what problem this organization is trying to solve.
I was talking to a client today during lunch, and I said, okay, where are your pain points?
Mm,
And where do you spend your time? And so,
mhm,
as we were talking through pain points and spending time, they had forgotten to build in self care, family,
mm, come on.
you know, working on the business, just
It's
being
inertia,
right,
especially as a small business. You have to wear 12 hats because you look around, there's no other heads,
right,
right? So you've
right.
got to do all the things,
So if
but
you're doing all the
you've
things,
got to place, you've got to
right,
put in place.
and if you're doing all the things, then where does that leave you for leadership? Because you're always behind the ball
Yes,
doing the things.
yes. Leadership. One of the things that's been interesting. I helped my brother transition from an executor to a leader,
Mhm. Oh,
and
that's big.
he called me after we went through the whole process, and he called me, I don't know, a few months later. And he's like, yeah, everything. I said, is everything cool? He said, everything's working great. We're growing. We're doing this. We're hiring some people. Everything's working exactly the way we designed it. And there's this long pause. And I'm like, what? And he's like, what I should be doing.
That's great,
He's like,
right?
he said, I've delegated everything. Everything's running right. I'm getting the metrics. I'm doing all the things and the business is running great. And he's like, I find myself with so much more time that I'm not sure how to fill. And it created one, a sense of pride that, hey, we actually know what we're talking about. But two, um, we went down a pathway like, okay, now you can focus on actually growing the business and building relationships and talking about the future when you didn't have that time before because you were wearing all the hats yourself.
And I think that
And that's
that's
scary,
right. It
right?
is.
Hiring that first or 10 person, every time you do it, you're like, okay, well, this is literally taking money out of my pocket and giving it to another human that I'm trusting is going to treat my business like I treat my
Well,
business.
okay. So let's talk about that from a business who is the leader, but wears all the hats,
Mhm.
right? So again,
Because that's part of
a-
organizational leadership change as well.
absolutely change management, right?
Mhm.
So, the client said today, well, can I trust a new hire with my client conversations that my established client conversations? And I said, well, I mean, there's a process, right? So maybe your process is first your new hire is with you for a period of time.
Mhm.
Then there's a period of time that that person is leading the meetings, but you're still there, you know, show, do.
Mhm.
Then there's a period of time that you're just popping in. So you are inspecting what you're
Let's go.
expecting.
Inspect what you
Right.
expect.
And what you are telling this new hire, or who is now no longer a new hire, is you're empowered.
Mhm.
I trust you.
Yep.
I value what you bring to the table. Now let me go get another client.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's as we wrap, couple of things. One, as you're whether you're the leader or you're the wannabe leader or you're in the process of hiring the leaders, you have to get to a point where and figure out your own process around trust. You have to figure out how to articulate your vision, get people to buy in, share your vision, create unification and collaboration, which leads to innovation and transformation. We say it all the time. I'm sure you're sick of it, but I don't care because that's what it's
Because it is
about.
a true statement.
That's what it's about. And I think as you're transitioning in leadership, you have to land and you have to start from a position of groundedness in the vision. And one of the things that we want to really, really poke people in the eye with is we have this prepping for Everest intensive that you need to be a part of, whether you're in transition for growth or in transition for complete change of the organization or there's a merger or whatever their case may be. If there's squishiness amongst the people within your organization around where you're going and what you're doing and how you're getting there, you need to work with us to get this under control because until and unless you have a solid foundation to work from, you are always going to be fighting from behind.
Right.
Always.
So, Silverback Ventures, you can always click on our website. You can look at our show notes.
Yeah, the
Nava
link to the
Studios.
intensives will be on our show notes and it'll give you much more information about what we do, how we do it. But man, don't neglect you're the leader for a reason. And part of that self care and part of that continued growth as a leader is being willing to say, hey, we need a third party to help us look at this because sometimes we're able to be the light shiners where
Right.
you may not have the ability to do that as the leader.
So Nava Studios is going to put our link in the show notes and the stuff. So click on us, like us.
Thank
But
you very much, Kristen.
also, if you know an organization that's going through a transition, then maybe this is a podcast that you forward to them.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you. Live a life of purpose on purpose. See you later, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.